call to order. We will approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'm good.
Max,
Yeah, it was fine to me
you
too.
good? Okay, and it's approved. Sign the notice of election.
So this is what we will publish in the paper. Of course, it'll be just look a little different when it gets in the paper. And this is the information that we'll post on our website. But the four school districts, Elkins, Fayetteville, Lincoln, West Fork, who have no change in their millage and no contested races, have all decided to do election by candidate, which means we won't open up earlier absentee voting for those school districts, which I think will be a lot less confusing.
Yeah.
So many voters will come in to vote to only find that there really
There's
isn't
nothing.
anything on their ballot to vote for, especially the Fayetteville voters, because early voting is in the clerk's office. They're used to going there. So we will arrange with all of these candidates to actually come in sometime during early vote to cast a ballot for themselves and for the school village. And we have all of their resolutions. The bottom part there on this first page of your notice of election, you'll see for Siloam Springs. So Siloam Springs voters for this election, and there's maybe 200 of them who live in Washington County, they have elected to do early and absentee voting. Of course, there's no change in the millage, and their zone does not have a contest. But if those voters wanted to go and vote a ballot, they would have to go to Benton County. So that's why this little notation is here for those Siloam Springs voters.
Got it.
Are you gonna be able to differentiate for a Siloam Springs voter ahead of time? Hey, you gotta go to Benton County.
Yes, those voters in that area, that's an area out towards Cincinnati. It has been this way.
So they already know.
So they already know, they're already familiar with it. And so for those voters, this is not anything new
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
So, but that's why I went ahead and did that language
Yeah.
there for those voters. And then, of course, the commission determined the election day voting. We've discussed the early voting sites. This will be for Farmington, Greenland, Prairie Grove, and Springdale school districts. They will be the only school districts where they vote either in person or by absentee. And then this is the list of polling places that the commission determined at our last meeting.
Okay.
I also have on here a little note for Springdale voters who live in Benton County, that they need to go to Benton County to vote. Because it goes back and forth. So we just want to make sure that that's covered. Of course, Kim will be publishing a notice of election and have information on her side in Benton County. So. And then the rest of the notice is just the information. And then, of course, when we'll canvass, tabulate, and certify the election, which will all be done here.
On the Springdale, you don't have a ballot order.
Oh, I would put that in there.
Okay.
I believe it's, I'll double check what it is, but I will place that on there, yes.
Good catch.
Yeah.
So. With that one addition, we're ready to sign this, right? Do we need a motion?
I move that we approve our signature of the notice of election information as presented. One.
With that one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So.
Other business. Do we have it?
Just quickly, the State Board of Elected Commissioners met yesterday to approve our primary from March of 2024 requests. We originally requested $204,908. They approved $203,552. They docked me on my cell phone usage. I need to go back and look and see how much I requested and how much they allowed. So, but I apparently requested more than so, but that's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Nevertheless, they should do the whole thing.
so I think so too, but it may be that we pay our poll workers who use their phone, the supervisor. If they work every day of early vote, we're gonna give them the money for every day of early vote. The state board may have said, we're only gonna pay for one day. I need to go back and look at it. With that being said, that basically we're getting back almost everything that we requested. And so that will of course go into the general fund.
Okay,
Good deal.
what else? Other business? Anything? You look nice.
Thank
You
you.
were at a school presentation is what I heard.
Gosh, yeah, it was. Did I tell you that?
You did, you told me, yeah.
I
So
was
she
at
made
the
sure we did.
Elegance Career Fair,
Oh, well.
which is just hilarious. Because I have no connection. One of the litigation assistants up there has a son who goes there. She was able to come later in the day, but asked if I would come in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good for me. Last time I probably talked to middle school kids was when I was in middle school. It's gonna give more perspective.
And they're
Still
all,
recognize it.
they're all
Very
eager
much
to
so.
get into their careers, right?
Yeah, well, I think out there, they said, in high school, they just changed it, to put them on a track. So they have to pick a track kind of in high school. So this was for
I don't.
6th, 7th, 8th grade and trying to get them to think about what track they're on. Which of course, at that age, I mean, you know.
How many
how
of
do you know,
us
You know,
knew when we were 12?
oh, I know. Yeah, exactly. Nobody,
Not
anyway. Oh,
I love
mine, of course.
Yeah, all right, so our next, well, the public test, we don't have to be here.
No, that was April 22nd, and then, of course, our next meeting will be April 23rd. That will be for the LNA certification and a poll worker notice.
And I think I would have to say, in general, we are here for good.
Yes.
We're not gonna be back and forth.
No, and in fact, when I've spoken with buildings and grounds, they're like pleased that this building is actually being used and not just, for a while, it was just a storage and people were just.
Well,
putting
and it
old
kind of still
stuff.
is over there.
Over there it is. And when you talked about the fence at the meeting last time, I didn't recognize, I was like, okay, I'll ask them for a fence. Then when I went outside later, I recognized why you're asking for a fence. I saw exactly what you were seeing. So that will be something that we'll kind of discuss later. But they are very pleased that we're in here. They have ordered the exit signs for us. So, and the emergency lighting, so that is being installed, part of it's being installed today. They are going to have to swap that door right there for those doors, so I don't know how all that's gonna work. But we actually have to have a door that pushes out.
That's good.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and that door always opens in.
Yeah.
So until they get that swapped, if we ever have more than 49 people in here, the fire marshal came by to kind of like make a game plan for us. If we ever have more than 49 people in here, our emergency plan for this moment is to open the garage door. We cannot have it locked whenever we have it open to the public. So that's the game plan for right now, but eventually that door will be put there, and then I don't know what. they're
Does
gonna do.
that mean they're going to narrow that door?
I would assume that probably we're gonna have construction. Yeah, it'll be, so yeah.
It'll be an emergency exit.
So, yeah, but that will be, our sign is ordered. So that is in the works. And we all now have keys to the building. Before, only two of us had keys. And so we were coordinating with making sure.
Oh,
my
my goodness, that's
that one of us
crazy.
was here. But yeah,
Okay.
but it definitely is. And also another thing that they kind of discussed with me yesterday was last Friday, the power went out to the south campus and the generator kind of was wishy-washy too. And so what would we do if that happened here? So I'm gonna come up with a game plan. Obviously, we would have to move or a generator would have to be brought in. But just kind of lay that out with buildings and grounds and of course with the judge on what would be our plan so that we're not having to come with it on election day and go ahead and kind of get that predetermined. That this would be the steps that buildings and grounds would need to take. This would be the steps we would take kind of thing to make sure that we would be able to count, whether it's here or at the sheriff's office or in September when the emergency gets open.
Is it gonna be open
That's what, yeah, that's what they say.
Okay.
Would we go there?
Yeah.
But we need to have a plan in place for that what if.
Well, the most desirable one, at least as I see it, is a generator
Yes,
on site.
yes,
So that the minute you find that you've got a problem, you turn over to that and use it.
yeah. And that was the discussion. When he came by to visit with us, he asked, what would we need to operate election night? Like, of our voting equipment, what has battery backup in it? What would we have to have that would run off the generator? And so definitely that's something we're gonna kind of be working on.
I mean, ideally, consider asking to have the whole building wired. for a
Exactly.
generator to
Yeah.
connect up. Because even if something has battery backup.
Right,
no,
how long is that?
It's gonna
Right,
be out. I mean, really, we need that, especially if that bill, if they're trying to put the primary in March every single year.
Yeah.
It's just
Right,
more likely
that's-
to have
yeah.
a weather event. That we're gonna need something, battery. So I'm with you.
Yeah,
I think we need a generator and
Yeah.
hook up here and,
put that under this is what we want.
yeah.
Yes, and that will be a discussion, that will
Yeah.
be fleshing out, over the next month or so to try and figure out what would be the best place for us.
Difficult would there be to wire this place for a permanent?
Easy. It's
generator?
easy. They just have
Oh,
to do
really?
it at breaker box.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Yeah, exactly. It would actually be easy. I mean, you have to buy the,
Right,
hook up and
right.
whatever, but it's not that hard. It's not like they have to
Yeah.
rewire it.
well, does that come out of our budget or out of buildings? and
I would
grounds?
think it would be buildings and grounds,
Okay.
but so therefore it might be something that's built into the budget next
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
depending on what they have in their
Right.
budget. Because I don't know that when they built their budget last year, that they actually planned on having to
Yeah.
redo this
Yeah.
thing. So it may,
Yeah.
it may be something that, is something for next year, but we'll start working on it. And the county has an electrician, and so that makes it easier
Yeah.
too, because the county does have an electrician.
Oh,
that could-
Yeah, that would sort, in my view, that would be sort of a peak I would do.
Yeah, sure, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Cool.
what other business? Anybody?
Nothing from me.
Did you go to Little Rock?
We did, we went. to
How'd it
Little
go?
Rock.
You want to give us a report on
So
that?
we went to Little Rock twice. So we went to Little Rock first for the ballot, order bill. Yeah, that did not go well. It got defeated on the House floor. It barely made it out of committee.
I mean, it got sounded defeated
Oh,
on the House
it
floor.
did.
Why what was the name? I missed that.
I
you know?
think the opposition was, the Clerks Association opposed it.
Why,
okay.
why did the clerks care?
Because it has a step work that, they need to do.
That they need to do, what do they have to do? What's the?
So this would
work?
require them to file mark the
Final
political
yeah,
practice
yeah.
pledges when they come
You
in.
are kidding.
And
that was
They'll
the-
be doing it anyway.
They're not, yeah, the question, they're not file marking it, and there was opposition because they would have had a file mark it.
Or if they had a file mark, it didn't have a timestamp on it, but whatever it is. Now, our county clerk
Right.
file marks every single one that comes in with a timestamp on it, so. But there was that, and then I guess just, trying to overstep the boundaries
Yeah.
of telling someone
Yeah.
exactly how to do it. I think there was also confusion on some counties have grand traditions, like we have our little bowl with the
Sure.
little yellow silk string.
Yeah.
Some counties have bingo, some counties do, chips, some counties do cards. And I think they thought it would take their ability away to do that as well. But the feedback I did get is counties recognize, the ones that I've visited with after, the ones that were opposed to it, was we didn't have anything written down on how they proceed. And they really should do that, because if someone
Sure.
questions, how did a name appear on the list? How did you do the ballot draw?
Right.
We can always go back and say, here were the rules,
Right.
here's exactly how we conducted it, and they didn't have that, so that did not. So, but we'll be
Do
able.
you think that'll come back up?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I don't think those in the car.
I just said, the clerks association has such pull down.
Yeah.
They do.
It's just,
Yeah.
wild.
Unwieldy.
So the SBEC did not take position on the rest. So, yeah. But
No.
they did not.
No.
And then we went down Monday and the chairman of the Federal Election Assistance Commission
Yeah, lunch
did
there
a
too, right?
presentation, yes.
How was that?
It was very interesting. He was actually a really good speaker and he kept it short, so that's all, he didn't just drive on. We did tell a paper ballot joke that like no one in the room like laughed at all, because that was kind of like like, what is this going to be about? But basically what he talked about was, poll books, which is part of our voting equipment, does not, for most states, or maybe any states, require any type of certification. So they just certified their first set of poll books, No Ink, which is one company, I think that when we were looking at voting equipment was one that we had actually looked at. Currently the Arkansas does not require our poll books to be certified. But that is, I think, going to be something that going forward, they look at, because that is the one point in the process, at least, the concern is hooked up to Wi-Fi, to the internet. So
okay.
information is being transmitted through the internet, the hackability and all of that sort of thing. And so I think it's a security thing in regards to that. He also talked about they're continuing to test voting equipment and do like a new tier of voting equipment. Part of the problem is with voting equipment, as soon as it goes through certification, it's actually almost obsolete.
Yeah.
Because technology advances so much quicker than their certification
Yeah.
process does. But he talked a little bit about that. He talked about the need for training, the need for, comprehensive training for election officials, for poll workers. And that needs to be prioritized in counties and states, and their funding should be, available. He talked about elections are as vital as your fire, budget, your sheriff's budget, all of those kind of things, because you have to have elections, you have to have budget, and counties need to prioritize that need for election commissions, for training and those different types of things. So it was really, it was just kind of an overview of it and everything. But yeah, so it was pretty good. I did speak with him afterwards, and I had worn our little I voted sticker thing. I talked to him about that. I did not realize this, and I wish I had of. We could have entered that into the federal, they do an awards every year for different things that happen in the election cycle. And one of those is the I voted sticker design. And I could have entered, had I known, I would have entered her.
Yeah.
So next year, that will be one that we'll go ahead and we'll enter, in there. And so we just kind of talked about what the, just a few different things about that. But it was, I felt like it was worth the trip to go down there to see what it was that he was gonna speak on.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, great.
Well, do you feel like, they're gonna maybe do that yearly? Have
So-
some, or maybe every other year or something?
I think so. I think the fact that he came to Arkansas, the fact that he,
Yeah.
came here and spoke and everything, they offer their website, if you ever go on it, it has so much information on there. I mean, that's where I got a lot of the rules for our I Voted sticker contest. That's where, like, when the equipment is being certified, you can go and look and see all the different levels that it has to go through. It has just tips and, other state information. So it is a very helpful website. That's one thing he also discussed too, that the federal level has a limited role in elections. Elections are conducted at the local level, either at the county level or the state level. But this is a way for states or for counties to get more resources
Mhm.
by maybe looking at the federal government, for assistance in different things. But yeah.
Maybe now that you have his contact information, you can invite him to come back and present to one of your, classes
Yeah, and I definitely think that they
up here.
would be.
Northwood.
I do, I think that they would be. They also do, they do roundtable, kind of things, and he sent me the link to that to join up, kind of like, discussion type things, so I'm gonna look into that as well. It's that the more knowledge we have on how elections are run, not just for Washington County, but across the United States, the better will be the trends we'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Because if it is going to be a law in one state, the odds of it happening in our state greatly increase depending on the state that passes it. So it helps us kind of predict election laws, those trends.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to
That's great.
went to it.
We got to see the new Secretary of State, but we didn't get to speak to him. He introduced, the speaker, and then as soon as it was over, he left, but for a good reason. I don't know if you remember, if you watched, the president's, address to Congress, and the young boy from Texas.
he was there, yeah.
Was at the Capitol that day, and they were headed over to meet him. They made him an honorary Capitol Police person and all of that sort of
Sheriff or
stuff.
something.
Yeah, and so, I think he had to
Arkansas
leave
State.
to go, yeah,
Yeah.
to go.
I was gonna ask you if you had had a chance to meet him.
No, and like I said, he slipped out very quickly because that was,
Yeah.
that was occurring right as ours was ending, so yeah.
We're good. All right. If there's no other business,
Nope.
we're out of here.
Go
Okay.
ahead.